Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I'm with the amazing Tyler. He's the first solo man, so that's just a big celebration already to be had. You want to just introduce what you do, because I think your brand and your concept is new to people. It's called Creator Closing, and I'll let you introduce that and just say hello to begin with.
For sure. That's a huge honor. I'm definitely grateful for it, Talia. Thank you for having me. And anybody listening here, just want to provide as much value as possible, get some good insights and downloads, and should be a good conversation. So my name is Tyler Bendeson. My Instagram handle is Kaizen with Tyler. If you don't know Kaizen is small improvements every day, leading to huge results over time. And that's a philosophy I've really taken in and really embody it every single day, like slowly making improvements, 1% better every single day in all aspects of life. So that's where my philosophy is at. My mindset is at. Creator Closing, which is on the hat here, is sales. So we're working with creators, people that are posting content, that have an online business. What Creator Closing is all about is turning that attention into action, turning the content consumers, the people that are following and liking, into consumers, essentially, into customers. So we're working with like e-commerce coaches, drop shipping coaches, lifestyle, business, fitness coaches, anybody that has an online business. We close up deals for them on the back end. Sales has drastically changed my life. It allowed me to step into the greatest version of me. And even more than just teaching sales, we teach full on like personal development through the vehicle of sales.
Thank you so much. Great introduction. And it's actually so funny because I didn't know what Kaizen meant. I thought that was like your middle name or something. So I just knew already. So that's great. Yeah, I love that idea of the small, consistent steps. And what I also love, and I really wanted to dive into today in this episode, it is about sales. Sales as a vehicle for personal development. I think the perception of sales is so strongly tied in with being a shark, being untrustworthy, being a scam artist. Like, I think, as you know, those things are very closely tied together. And I think working with you really like shifted a lot of that for me. And I think it's such an important shift to have. So maybe you can talk a bit about that perception and how to overcome and shift that, and
For
why
sure.
to as well.
Yeah, that's normally the typical perspective on sales for a lot of people. It's like it's scamming people, it's super sharky, it's like forcing somebody into a deal. And that's like what I consider the old style of selling, like the old-fashioned style, which is like cheesy lines or how to overcome an objection or like what to say to get somebody to buy in and like forcing them into the yes. Nowadays, people kind of see right through that and they feel through it internally. Like people could see right through the BS if you're not being genuine with them. So the new way of selling is through empathy, through compassion, like really tapping into the energetics of sales, which is really providing a solution to a problem. At the end of the day, that's sales. That's all it is. Like seeing where somebody is at, seeing what their pain point is, what their goal is. And if you genuinely have a product that could help them with that goal or that problem, you give it to them and you share why you believe that would help them. So we're just solving problems, providing solutions to problems, and that's it. And it doesn't have to be super salesy, quote unquote, and sharky to get to that end result, because when a typical salesperson needs to make money, they're going to feel like they need to force this person into the sale, as opposed to genuinely coming from a place of service, wanting to connect with that person and making it about the prospect, about the lead. And then when you do that, the money flows abundantly. It's like it's funny how it works. When you're not focused on the money and focused on yourself, you're focused on others, everything comes back to you in that way. So we come from a place of service, like genuinely helping that person on the other side of the screen or the phone, and doing it in an ethical way, in a genuine way. And that's needed now more than ever, because the old way of selling is outdated. Truly, people see right through it.
So I want to tap in a bit more into your story. And I know plant medicine's a big part of it too.
For sure. So I'd say up until like my senior year of high school, lived a relatively average, normal life. You know, like getting B's, getting C's in college, wasting a lot of time, not really like focusing on my self improvement, my journey, kind of just going through the motions. And I was okay with that. And then when I went into college, my freshman year of college, my mother was sick previously, but she ended up passing away from cancer, which was really like a push into like, what is the meaning of life? What should I do with my life? How do I improve my life? How do I, at first the question was, how do I get out of the pain, you know, and like the grief, which led me to meditation. So heavy into meditation, also like watching a lot of self-improvement videos like Jim Rohn, Tony Robbins, Eckhart Tolle, Abraham Hicks, like anything I could watch of like change your life, upgrade your life, step into your best self. I was watching it and like every single night for hours and hours. So went through college, graduated a 4-year degree. Then I moved down to Jupiter, Florida, where I started selling gym memberships. Sales allowed me to step into a new version of me, kind of like Tyler 2.0. And while I was working at the gym selling gym memberships, I met my mentor, who was an herbalist, healer, hosted plant medicine retreats, and worked with like renowned herbalists all over the world. Went to his first ever retreat in Miami, and I was blown away by everything. And I was very aligned with the mission because of my mom passing, you know, understanding holistic ways to heal the body and take care of ourselves. Like light bulbs were going off.
Yeah.
So I went there, told him I would love to work with him. Shortly after I did, and became his director of operations. So I was traveling the world, hosting plant medicine retreats, running, like helping him with the sales force, also like marketing a bit, fulfillment, doing a lot of things on the back end.
What was the process of having him be your mentor, and also what specific retreats does he do?
Yeah, this is a very valuable question because I had to pay to attend this retreat, and I didn't necessarily have all the funds. Like I wasn't balling out selling gym memberships. It was like a regular like minimum wage job in a way. So I knew I had to go there. So I made it happen. Like I saved up the money. I pulled some strings to get into the room. I got seen. I got known. And I took advantage of the opportunity because I knew I was supposed to be there. So I went there. I paid the price to get in. And I was just a student, like sharing my story a bit, kind of like taking in all the information, being a student, learning, providing value as well. Told them the story about my mom and kept following up. It wasn't like immediate. I was like, hey, like, would love to connect. Would love to see what we could do. Like providing value to him. Like, hey, like I know sales. I'm selling gym memberships. I understand the content space a little bit. I could provide tremendous value to you. And he was hosting plant medicine retreats. So sitting with different plant medicines, whether it's ayahuasca, mushrooms, San Pedro, but also other herbs that aren't like psychedelic, of like healing, detoxing, cleansing, and like revitalizing. So it's a mix of like teaching health and also sitting in ceremony. And it's a cool lead up to it because we're cleansing the first few days and then we're sitting with medicine.
So what was the first ceremony or event that you went to?
The first one was a mushroom in San Pedro ceremony. Okay. And I was blown away because I had done psychedelics before, but never in a ceremonial setting. Always with my friends, climbing the mountains and like listening to rap music. And it was always like a bad trip, quote unquote. I was always like, man, like I can't really like tap in, or like different things come up. There's so many different factors, as opposed to an actual ceremony where the intention is to hold space in a safe space to really dive in. Like everybody goes around, says their intention, and you're able to dive deep. And like it's a totally different experience.
Wow, yeah, and that's very valuable to share with people, that your perception and previous experiences with psychedelics, with drugs in general, is so different to when you do it in ceremony. So they're completely separate things. And also, I wanted to pick up on what you said before about mentorship, paying the price, and also like making things happen when you have a deeper knowing that things are meant to be, that like you will always find a way. Anything's possible if you decide. That's how powerful we are, right?
Yeah. There's a Daniel G, who's like a sales trainer. He said people will always find a way if they really see it as a good deal, you know, because if somebody was offering a Ferrari for $5,000, you'd probably find a way to get $5,000 to buy that Ferrari. You're like, that's a no-brainer. Like, it's such a great deal. Like a Ferrari for 5,000, and it's understanding and like portraying that, communicating that value to a prospect or to somebody interested of like, hey, you're going to get way more than just this. The value is immense. So that's how I saw it. And the value, I think the price for the retreat was like $1,500. And I got way more value. I got 2-3 years of like direct mentorship out of that $1,500, which is like extremely priceless. So when you feel called to something and you genuinely feel like it's right for you, do what you can to make it happen. And don't listen to the limiting beliefs that try to hold you back of like, that's not for you. Like, now's not the time. Don't do that. A lot of times it's just the former version of us holding us back from that future version of us.
That was what I was gonna say, is that a lot of the times there will be a part of you that is looking at the obstacles. There's gonna be multiple voices at play because there are multiple dimensions to our existence. There's the ego, there's the wounded self. And I think once you learn to listen to your higher self, which is often called listening to your gut, listening to your heart, the voice you hear when you're in stillness and silence, that is the one that is going to guide you and let you know if something's meant for you.
For sure.
So we left off with you working with this healer and his director of operations, and what happened from there.
Yeah. So things were great. It was a dream come true. Eventually parted ways with him and the company, and started just closing full time. So I was working with a few different creators in the space, people that have like really successful online businesses, and just closed up deals for them on the back end. And I did that for about 2 years. You know, like I was doing it with him as well, but now I just moved on to different companies, whether it was like business coaching, e-commerce coaching, fitness coaching, a few different offers with some of the top people in the space. And people were asking me what I was doing. Like, how are you able to travel, work from your computer? Like, what are you doing? Show me the way. And it naturally came to be that creator closing was born, teaching others how to do it, teaching others sales, communication, and then helping them get remote work and working with creators and live this lifestyle as well, because it's truly never been easier. So it's what I've been doing for the past 5 years, like actually creator closing. And now I'm just teaching others how to do it. And that pretty much brings us up to date today. Now we're working on creator closing 2.0 and like the next levels of the program. There was a mastermind I went to here in Tulum, and it was Eric Rock, who learned directly from Ed Milet. He said, it's actually ingrained in us to not want to put ourselves out there, because back in the day, if you put yourself out there in the caveman days, you would get stoned to death if you said something people didn't like. And that's ingrained in us from back then.
Wow.
You know, so like that's our body trying to save us. So like when you feel uncomfortable posting content or putting yourself out on social media or like doing big things, that's your body trying to save you.
Yeah, and I love that you just said that, because I've been contemplating like, why does it feel so hard when like realistically it's actually you just stepping into the fullness of who you are? And that's really interesting that it's almost like a survival mechanism that's ingrained into us, and that it's still something that can be unlearned. You've spoken a lot about mentorship, and I think this is something I want to dive into a bit more. What has been the power of having mentors in your life?
It is everything. And I posted the story today that it's really never been easier. We all have access, for the most part, to a phone with access to the internet. And on the internet is unlimited amounts of information. You can read almost any book ever written, ever. You can watch seminars, speeches, workshops, masterminds, all for free on YouTube. We have access to all these different mentors and great people in history, in moments in time, to take in and absorb. And a mentor can show you the way and can also be an example of what's possible for you. Like the way I truly see it is, if another human being walking this earth has done something before, you can too. You can as well. As long as you study them and backtrack what they did to get there. Like
Yeah.
success leaves clues every single time. So
Mm,
finding mentors in your life and listening to them and implementing what they're saying, because some people might join a program and they implement some things, but not everything, like doing 100% what that mentor is saying to see if it's even true and it works for you. A lot of times it will, if you just trust that process,
mm,
because mentors know the path. They've done it before. They could save you years and years of trial and error. So
yeah.
mentors have changed my life drastically in many different ways.
Yeah, and this quote came into my head today. I don't know who said it, but it's like, don't listen to advice from people who don't have what you want. Because I think so much of the time, there's voices of people around you being like, that's really hard to do, or like, that's not possible, or like all of these voices. And it's like, well, listen to the people who've actually done it. Don't take advice from anyone else in terms of how to get that thing that you want, whatever it might be.
Yeah, because everybody will have an opinion, truly. And if you're not very intentional and careful with what information you're taking in, you can limit yourself for years and years and years listening to people whose life you don't really want. So getting clear on the life that you do want, who has done it before, and listening to them. But also being able to take in contradicting information and like filtering it through like your perspective, but you don't have to take it as absolute truth. It's like, oh, that's an interesting perspective, and like consider it. Like you have to have pure conviction, especially now because everybody has an opinion, everybody's sharing their opinion, so you got to find what's true for you, find like the few people that like really believe in that vision as well, and just grow together, like insulate yourself.
Yeah. How do you get to that place of pure conviction? Because I think that's one of the greatest barriers. I think people have a vision of what they want, or they know what they'd like to have, but they don't think it's possible. And then they might believe it for a bit, but then let that cycle get in of that doubt, allowing it to get to them.
I think it's making the promises to yourself, like the small promises. Like if you say you're going to wake up early, wake up early. If you say you're going to go to the gym that day, go to the gym that day. And then over time, you start to have a belief in yourself where you're convicted in your success and you feel like it's inevitable. Even if it's not tomorrow or next month, in the next year, even in the next 10 years, you're going to figure it out. You're going to make it happen. And like putting yourself in the situations that make it unreasonable to not succeed. So reading the books, going to the event, going to the mentor and like asking him questions and taking this in. Over time, it just becomes inevitable. You're like, man, I put in the reps, I put in my time. But I feel like deep down, everybody knows that they're meant for something special.
Yeah. Yeah. And that I really like what you said, because it is just about building that self-trust. And also that what you just said now is like, we all have that inner knowing. And the thing is, no one else can have that for you. So you just have to listen to yourself.
And nobody gives you permission. If you're expecting one day somebody to be like, all right, now you can start posting content, or now you can start a program, that day is never going to come. You have to give yourself permission to follow your dreams and live the life of your dreams and go out there and get it. Because if you're waiting, you're going to wait for the rest of your life. It's never going to happen. Like there might be mentors and friends that are like, hey, you should do this, that like encourage you, but nobody's ever going to give you permission to now go out there and do it. And when I saw that with my mentor, like my mentor didn't go through some course to be like an influencer and like teaching people and coaching people. Like he did his own study and his own background, but he gave himself the permission to now post, to now share his gift and help people. So you have to do that for yourself too. That's an internal process, but it's a rewarding process, following your internal guide, because it's always there.
Yeah, I think that's so interesting. One of my mentors always says, like, you don't always need a qualification or like to do a course or to do all these things. Like, it's actually about deciding that you're ready. And so much of the battle is just yourself and your own belief and your own confidence, and just like fully embodying that and stepping into that.
Yeah.
And equally, it is important to have community and people around you who also believe in you. And I know you're a big believer in community. You have one of your own that I'm in. And yeah, maybe you want to speak a bit more about the power of community.
It's incredible when you have people all accepting you for this current version of you, because your high school friends, college friends, family, they see you as a different version of yourself. And it's not to blame them because of that, but that's just how it is. Like growing up, I was relatively shy, quiet, doing like the bare minimum, like living a very average life. And now I'm seeking more. But the people that know me from back then don't see me as this version of me now. They take into consideration who I was. So when you're tapping into these communities, they're able to speak life into you and accept you and see you for who you are now, currently, and who you're working on becoming. And when people could speak life into you and you speak life into others, the energy is contagious. It's just like inevitable for all of us to grow. We're social beings as humans. Like we're meant to thrive in communities. Like I have a different skill set than you, and you provide tremendous value to the group as opposed to somebody else who's able to help out with something completely different. Yeah, the community is special for sure. And when you have a special community like that, you can make anything happen, because I have access to all my connections. You have access to all your connections. And like the spider web is like millions and millions of people we could impact and help and like collaborate with this person over here and do this here. So it's really like a cheat code to life, truly. And it's fun. Like it's cool being with the squad and like being there for each other and growing together.
I really agree. And I think it's such a beautiful gift to find community, even if it's online. I think so many people feel alone, and it's like, even if it's online, it's still just as powerful. I hope you loved this conversation with Tyler as much as I did. Come back next week for part 2 of our conversation, and I'm sending you all so much love. Thank you for being here.